And much to play for the Lions, who come in one game behind the Green Bay Packers in the NFC North, and a win would put them into the playoff run in the 6th slot right now. And right now, let's go down to the field to the third member of our team, Christina Pink.
Thank you, Dick. Well, you can easily call this Lions team the comeback hits this season. It all starts with their quarterback, Matthew Stafford. He is actually third in the NFL this season in game-winning drives in the 4th quarter, and he's done it 15 times over the course of his career. Hey, Jim Caldwell's impressed. He said one of the things that surprised him was how great his quarterback plays in the clutch when he took over this team this offseason. Some quarterbacks shy away and shrink in those situations. Not Stafford. He loves it. One of the reasons why they're 8-4 this season, Dick.
All right, Christina, and all Jim Caldwell wants, Brady, is for him to have a good back-to-back game, because this is a team that didn't score a touchdown in the 2 games prior to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they're looking for more consistency, and I think they found a little bit of that last week, and with all their weapons back healthy, Reggie Bush now again and Calvin Johnson at full kilter, I think they're excited to see what they can do these last few weeks.
Jeremy Ross is back. The Lions won the toss, and they want the ball, and they'll take it out on the 20-yard line. So the aforementioned Matthew Stafford, coming off the best game of his season, passing yards, he's right there, and he's won some of those late-stage games.
Ironically enough, too, Calvin Johnson had his best game of the season last week as well, so that's going to be a big part of Matt Stafford's success.
And Joyke Bell will start in the backfield. We'll give you the entire Lions offense and Buccaneer defense in a moment. Reggie Bush returns after missing the last 3, but Bell starts the game, and Bell gets the handoff and is stopped after a gain of 1 by Leonard Johnson. So let's take a look at the Lions coming off their best offensive performance since week 1, and Reggie Bush, will see a lot of him today.
Yeah, and he's got that top-end speed that they don't have at the running back position when he's out. Theo Riddick, Joyke Bell, they do a nice job of carrying the load in his absence, but again, he is that big play ability that they've been missing a little bit in the backfield.
And there he is into the game on 2nd down. Riley Reif and Larry Warford are back in, so the offensive line at full strength. 2nd down and 9. And Stafford, despite pressure, completes the pass to Eric Ebron, the young tight end who they like very much. The Tampa Bay Bucs defense, Akeem Spence starting at defensive tackle for Clinton McDonald, and they love having Levante David back.
They do. He's a tackling machine, great instincts and great job running around, getting to the football. Then Deshaun Goldston, the leader there in the secondary. He's an extremely physical player, but he's done a nice job adjusting to this Tampa 2 scheme Lovie Smith's brought in. And
the Bucs have certainly gotten better defensively as the season wore on, even though they still have that 2-10 record. 3rd down and 4, and Stafford getting some time over the middle and completes it to Joyke Bell, who returned to the game. He'll have a 1st down out to the 33 with a tackle by Danny Lansana, a pickup of 8.
One of the things in particular Lovie Smith likes to do is disguise. So he's got his linebackers up in the line of scrimmage, trying to almost depict that they're going to blitz, and then they drop out. So again, trying to put pressure on the quarterback to think that he's getting pressure, and then at the last second drop out into coverage and have to adjust to that.
And a 1st down at the 33. Play action on 1st down. They go back to the same play to Joyke Bell, and he gets a few. Bell with 91 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Bears on Thanksgiving Day.
And Dick, we're going to see a lot of checkdowns today, in particular against this Tampa 2 scheme. Joyke Bell and the rest of the running back crew is going to see a lot of different balls getting thrown around the middle of the field.
Gets the call after the 6-yard gain and is short of the 1st down by 2 yards with Akeem Spence, who's playing in place of Clinton McDonald, making the tackle.
We talked about their offensive performance last week. They were very balanced as well. Joyke Bell had one of his better games this season. And again, carrying the load for Reggie Bush, who was absent, had been bothered by an ankle injury, but he looks to be full speed now.
And Reggie Bush, the 2nd leading rusher, 4th receiver, back in there. He gives the Lions somewhat of a home run threat. It'll be 3rd down and 2.
He's a tough matchup out of the backfield, and as a wide receiver as well.
Stafford getting some protection, breaks down, and the pass is caught. Good catch made by Joseph Fourier. 6'7", and they've got some tall tight ends. A gain of 7 and another 1st down. Fourier is slow getting up and is limping right now, and he is injured. It'll be a first down at the 48-yard line, but Fourier is hurt. We'll take a break right now. Opening possession of the game, no score here at Ford Field.
This game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com.
Joseph Fourier being tended to on the bench. Eric Ebron, number 85, in at tight end. Joik Bell is the running back, and it's a first down at the 48, and the pass out to Golden Tate. Golden Tate, what a season he's having as he gets into Buccaneer territory at the 34-yard line. Deshaun Goldson missed the tackle, so the former Notre Damer, the Golden Domer, who is already over 1,000 yards receiving.
And they find all types of creative ways to get him the football. He's so dynamic once he gets it in his hands, getting yards after the catch. That's where he's special. He's really become the go-to guy of this Detroit Lions offense.
And a gain of 19 yards. Golden Tate, leading receiver, even with Calvin Johnson around. And here is the handoff to Reggie Bush, and he'll be stopped for a loss of 1. There is Fourier, and it's interesting, an injury on the first series. The Lions are probably the healthiest they've been all season coming into this game.
Yeah, and his absence hurts in particular in this area of the field as you get closer to the red zone. He's one of those big red zone targets they have at tight end that they like to get the ball to in the end zone.
2nd and 11 from the 34 of the Buccaneers. Opening drive of the game. Looking left and going out to the right to Reggie Bush, and Bush picking up about 2 yards, and it's time for our first game break of the day. Let's go out to Kurt Menefee.
All right, it's way early, but the NFC South still cloudy because Cam Newton and Kelvin Benjamin hooked up for a 9-yard score in New Orleans, and they lead the Saints right now early on in the first. Dick, Brady, Christina.
How about that at NFC South? And yes, would you believe it? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 3 games back with 4 to play, mathematically they're still alive.
They're still alive mathematically, which means they need to win all their games, and everyone else needs to lose in that division. So
good luck. Third down and 9, and the quick out to Golden Tate. Tate goes by a couple of defenders, driving to the first down yardage, is short by 1 yard, and Levante David prevents the first down there.
One of the predicaments that Tampa puts themselves in is when they try to bluff these pressures and they drop out. Now they got to drop back out in the zone coverages, and a lot of times they don't have the opportunity to then cover their wide receivers and get out there in space.
And a Tampa Bay player is injured, and that's Gerald McCoy. So Gerald McCoy, who's 2nd in the league in sacks and the heart of the defense for the Buccaneers, is down. We'll be back.
Today's game is sponsored by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly.
And McCoy just getting up now. Gerald McCoy, and he had just about the entire bench around him, coming in 2nd in the league in the sacks among defensive linemen. And this would be a terrible loss for this team, but seems to be walking off on his own power now.
Let's look at Gerald McCoy on this play. It doesn't seem like there was anything in particular where he came up limping or lame. As he goes to chase down the football, you start to notice he has a little bit of a limp. But again, wasn't any sort of player to fall on him or any sort of twisting motion or anything.
And there you see him limping. No one actually hit him. He's on the bench. It's 4th and 1, and the Lions on the 24 will go for it here. See what Lovie Smith and the defense dials up on a 4th and 1.
And not having Gerald McCoy plays a huge factor in probably determining to go for it here.
Travis Swanson, an extra offensive lineman for the Lions. They hand off to Joik Bell, and Joik Bell's not going to get there. He'll be stopped short by a half a yard. So the Buccaneers stop the Lions on 4th down if the spot is where we think it is, and would take over on downs. We'll wait for the official call. And it looked like Danny Lansana and Akeem Spence combined to stop Bell, and we have not gotten an official signal yet, nor a call for a measurement. And now we will measure. It looked as if he was shy.
This is how fast windows close and open in the NFL. It looked as if he might be able to punch through that that hole and get the first down, but unfortunately, the Tampa Bay defense too fast. A nice job filling in for the injured Gerald McCoy.
Well, that's pretty clutch. As you mentioned, they don't have McCoy, and the Lions go for it on 4th down here. Joyke Bell is stopped a half a yard shy of the first down.
But Daquan Bowers, number 91, will be his replacement. He's done a nice job all year when he's gotten his opportunities on the field.
So a defensive stop and a big one for the Buccaneers, and they come out with their first offensive sequence now on the 24-yard line. Josh McCown missed some time with a thumb injury. Now back starting again. First down, and McCann to the air, and his intended receiver was Mike Evans in the pass nowhere there. So Josh McCown making his 8th start of the year and the 5th in a row. Started the first 3, gave way to Mike Glennon, and now back.
Yeah, and everyone's kind of wondering why he's not having the same type of production as last year with the Chicago Bears. Well, there's all sorts of things. We'll talk about it throughout the game that play into that. In particular, a first-year offense coordinator, Marcus Arroyo, in replace of Jeff Tedford.
That was a lot of big problems for the Bucs at the opening of the year. 2nd down and 10, and here is Doug Martin. And Martin coming off his best rushing game of the year last year, 58 yards. And Martin is starting today, but they got some weapons you talked about.
They do. Mike Evans in particular leading all rookie wide receivers right now in yards. He's a guy they'll try to look to work for single coverage, in particular 3rd down right here. Look at their offensive line, Logan Mankins. He's the guy, again, who's that veteran stalwart leading the crew.
And Anthony Collins not making the trip, and O'Neal Cousins is starting at left tackle. So it's 3rd down and 7.
We'll see very similar defensive schemes from both teams in this game.
And here's McCown. Gets some pressure, and the pass is incomplete. Going to Jackson, thrown out of bounds, and it's 4th down. So the Lions get a 3 and out on the first Buccaneer possession. George Johnson getting some pressure in on the quarterback.
And that's one of the issues the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have had this year. They have not been able to protect or go a game without a sack on either of their quarterbacks, Josh McCown or Mike Glennon. So they've been struggling to be able to find some consistency on the offensive line, and injuries have played a factor in that as well.
Michael Kanan will be kicking, and Jeremy Ross is back, and the fair catch at around the 30-yard line. So Calvin Johnson, who had a spectacular game Thanksgiving Day with a season's high 11 catches, what does he do for an encore? We'll find out when the Lions come back on the field.
Today's game is sponsored by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.
Quick injury update on the Tampa Bay sideline. Gerald McCoy, defensive tackle, is questionable to return with a right knee injury. He is on the bench. He has been testing it out, but right now not on the field, Dick.
And Stafford is going deep, and he wanted Calvin Johnson, and double covered and textbook coverage downfield by Bradley McDougald starting at strong safety and Deshaun Goldson at free safety. First incompletion for Stafford, who's now 7 for 8. And Brady, he's thrown to 5 different receivers, but he has not completed one to that man.
Not yet, but he will. We saw that same play in practice on Friday. They really wanted to utilize the matchup of Calvin Johnson on the safeties for Tampa Bay. They felt like that might be a weak point in their defensive coverage.
Lovie Smith has faced Calvin Johnson countless times when he was the head coach of the Bears. It'll be 2nd down and 10, and here is Joyke Bell, and Joyke Bell is pushed back. Good stop there by the right side of the Buccaneers line. And the secondary forcing the play. Daquan Bowers with help from Leonard Johnson.
And you can't say enough about what the defense has really done after their bye week in week 7 for Tampa. They've really stepped up and answered the call. They've been extremely stout, only allowing teams around 18 points a game.
Yep.
So again, they've been improving. They've really been adapting to this Tampa 2 defensive scheme by Lovie Smith.
And as you said, they've got to score points, enough points to really challenge the Lions today. 3rd down and 10 from the 30. Stafford drills it, and the pass caught by Megatron in midfield. And Johnson has now caught at least one pass in every NFL game he has played. That's 116 consecutive, and a gain of 21.
And they're going to continue to keep trying to work the ball in the middle of the field. That's the weak spot for this Tampa 2 defense. As you see Calvin Johnson roll right into that window in the defense, that soft spot. They try to put the ball up high to that big target where he can protect the football and be able to get the first down.
So there's Calvin Johnson piling up incredible credentials. First down at midfield. Here's Bell. Bell's not been able to do much against this Tampa Bay defense. They have cut down the run effectively. And it was Naquan Bowers again. And McCoy, remember, on the sidelines with that injury. And we'll see if he gets back in there. No gain on the play.
It seems it doesn't matter which linebackers they put in there. We talked about earlier, Danny Lansana now at the Mike linebacker position. Ori Lemon at the Sam linebacker, strong linebacker position. They all seem to run to the football well and tackle extremely well in space. And that they've been another big product of this front seven getting stops in the run game.
Joseph Fourier was shaken up earlier, back in the game. Second down and 10. Stafford stepping up, good coverage downfield, and throws it away. Credit the Buccaneers secondary and linebackers for their coverage. And that time Jonathan Banks with the corner blitz on Stafford.
You know, when talking with Matt Stafford, one of the things you notice on film that pops out is how much more elusive he is this year. You know, he talked about his off-season regimen, losing some weight, trying to put his best foot forward for a new coaching staff. And one of those things in particular he worked on was his movement. And you see him getting outside the pocket, making people miss. And even then, he didn't allow a sack. He didn't get a big play out of it, but at least he threw the ball away, and now they have a chance at 3rd and 10.
And he's healthier too, like so many of the Lions. So it's 3rd down and 10, and here's Stafford up the middle, and the pass caught by Ebron. Eric Ebron, 6'4", has now 20 receptions. He's the 10th pick in the draft out of North Carolina. He's had some drops, but they like what he's done as well, and a gain of 12.
And that's where you have to go to. He had a hot read. Tampa bringing more than their protection could take in that case. Matthew Stafford saw it, got it to the right guy, Eric Ebron, and they convert for the first down.
And Reggie Bush checking back in. It's been mostly Joyke Bell, so there is Ebron. It's paid dividends for this Lion team. First down at the 37. Handoff is to Bush going outside. And Bush getting inside the 35 for a gain of about 3. Brandon Dixon, who's played well in the secondary for the Bucs, making the play. And good news, and exhaling our Tampa Bay fans and their players as McCoy is back in.
Yeah, he plays that 3 technique position on the defensive line, and that's incredibly invaluable to this Tampa 2 scheme when they choose to play that particular coverage. He's got all sorts of gap responsibilities that really help in defending against the run game. So him being on the field with his caliber of play, they need him in that spot.
And they've limited some of his snaps so he'd be fresher in the 4th quarter as well. 2nd and 7. Here's Stafford quickly throwing, and the pass caught by Calvin Johnson at the 19-yard line for a gain of 15 and another first down.
Well, one of the greatest strengths of this Tampa Bay defense is their ability to stop the run. The only problem is that makes you vulnerable in the passing game. The Detroit Lions utilize a play-action pass there, and Calvin Johnson once again is able to get inside on an in-breaking route for the big gain.
Well, the Bucs have stopped the run, but Stafford has been able to move the ball through the air, and a first down on the Buccaneers 19, no score. And there's the quick pass, and the hot guy is Tate. Golden Tate with another first down. And boy, did Stafford fling that ball. You would know all about that. Got 13.
Yeah, and that comes from his baseball experience growing up. He is able to manipulate his arm to throw at all sorts of different angles. And as you see, he kind of just sidearm flings it into the window to Golden Tate. That's what makes Matthew Stafford so special. You can't see a lot of quarterbacks with the ability to do that.
And Golden Tate, so it's 1st and goal on the 6-yard line. They passed on a 2-to-1 ratio, the Lions have. Since the game has started, pressure on, and the sidearm toss incomplete, intended for Ebron, who's covered by the linebacker Levante David.
That's been the story of the Detroit Lions. They've been able to throw the ball extremely well, put a bunch of yards, statistically on the board, but they haven't been able to get the points to garnish that. So what they really need to focus on is trying to finish in the red zone with touchdowns instead of field goals.
This is the 11th play of the drive. Their first drive of the game went 11 plays as well, and they were stopped on 4th down.
Look at the matchup down here. That's the one I'd want to work with Calvin Johnson.
2nd and goal from the 6, and the fade to Johnson. He's got it, and a touchdown. That was the one you were worried about, and the Buccaneers were.
Well, we got the rookie Brandon Dixon matched up one-on-one. Just not a favorable matchup in man-to-man coverage. Not to mention a huge height disadvantage for Brandon Dixon. Excuse me, Jonathan Banks.
Both feet in and control. They'll check to make sure, and for Calvin Johnson, well executed. 6th touchdown catch of the year, and it's a touchdown. Matt Prater for the extra point, and the Lions have taken a 7-0 lead. 70 yards on 11 plays. Boy, they've had the ball for 11 minutes to 1 minute for the Bucs. And here's the impressive scoring drive, and the familiar Stafford to Johnson connection getting the touchdown. Calvin Johnson has 3 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown, all on this TD drive.
And why not?
Well, there is Solomon Patton, who's back with the Buccaneers after spending weeks on the Cardinals practice squad. Started the year with Tampa Bay, the first 6 games as a return man. And the Buccaneers have had a merry-go-round of return men. Here it is again. Nothing Banks could do with that one. So it's 7-0 Lions, and Josh McCown, who spent 1 year with Detroit back in 2006. Beginning from the 20. Here's Doug Martin. Martin close to the first down. Good run by Doug Martin on first down.
Well, Matthew Stafford saw his matchup on Calvin Johnson and Jonathan Banks. He's going to run a fade route. And the best part about Matthew Stafford is how smart he is. He kills the play, meaning he takes it from a run now to a pass because he sees this matchup. And then he executes. He throws a perfect ball where Jonathan Banks cannot get to it. That's good football right there.
For Stafford, his 16th touchdown pass of the year. So it's 2nd and 1. And the quick out to Vincent Jackson. He gets the first down and gets to the 38-yard line. Let's take a look at the Detroit Lions defense. #1 in the league in scoring defense and the best against the rush. Ndamukong Suh, big part of that. DeAndre Levy, the linebacker.
Yeah, he's a tackling machine. He's got 91 solo tackles, leading the NFL. And you look at the emergence of Darius Slay at cornerback. He's done a fantastic job of really coming to age this year in his 2nd year playing for the Detroit Lions.
So after the 8-yard pickup, it's a first down, and McCown again goes to Vincent Jackson, and Jackson gets good yards, about 7 on first down. So the Lions defense, and Jim Caldwell's told us on Friday, he says, I never would have predicted that we would play as well as we have.
Well, and they have. They have the personnel to do so, especially up front, and Ndamukong Suh in particular. And then you talk about DeAndre Levy, the guy who's be able to come up and stop the run. But their secondary, Glover Quinn, James Ihedebo. I mean, all those guys have added a veteran presence that's been able to help this defense put up the numbers they have.
Kevin Pamphile is an extra offensive lineman on 2nd and 2. McCown has been protected well so far, going deep this time and incomplete, going for the tight end Luke Stocker. Now, the Buccaneers will not have Austin Seferian-Jenkins or Brandon Myers, so they have 2 tight ends, Stocker and the rookie Cameron Brate.
And that's going to hurt them, in particular, playing against a team like Detroit who's going to play a little bit of 2 Tampa themselves. You got to work those inside matchups, and a lot of times, Dick, that's your tight end. We got to work inside him. Without Seferian-Jenkins and Myers, you know, that's going to be a big mismatch for them on the offensive side of the ball.
Under a minute to go in the first, 3rd and 2. McCown, and it'll be caught for the first down by Stocker. Luke Stocker gets the first down.
One matchup in particular I'm interested to see throughout this game is Ziggy Ansah versus O'Neal Cousins. We talked about it. Anthony Collins is hurt, and now they have the opportunity to see Ziggy Ansah matched up on a younger player, but look at him right there, jumping over Doug Martin, trying to cut him at the line of scrimmage to get in the quarterback's face. Josh McCown did a great job of standing in there, taking the hit, and delivering an accurate football.
Well, that offensive line so far has done a good job. 1st and 10 at the 49 of the Bucs. McCown again with time, and the pass is knocked down, and claiming interference is Mike Evans, but no flag is coming as Rashean Mathis, the cornerback and a veteran, defending on the play.
And it's a veteran move. Rashean Mathis does a nice job of being able to just hang on to one of Mike Evans' arms. You've got a 12-year veteran versus a rookie. He'll learn soon. He's got to find a way of ripping that right arm to make the catch. Rashean Mathis, a nice job. Again, one of their best cover corners and being a huge part in this defense having so much success this year.
2nd and 10 with 15 seconds left. And there's the fake pitch, and they go out to Evans, and Evans is going to be tackled. And a good play by DeAndre Levy. The tackling machine does it again, and that will be the last play of this first quarter. The Lions leading 7-0, and Fox NFL Sunday will return after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. These coaches have been around forever, but first year at the helm for Caldwell in Detroit and Lovie Smith in Tampa. 3rd down and 9, starting the second quarter, and Josh McCown on the screen pass to Charles Sims, who has a first down, and motoring down the sideline with a big gain. Charles Sims, who has played the last 4 games, was on injured reserve, designated to return earlier in the year, gets 24.
Well, how do you counter a team with a very aggressive pass rush? You run some screens, in particular on 3rd down when all those guys have their ears pinned back trying to get to the quarterback. In that case, a great play call by offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo.
Hey, 5-9.
Sims remains in there. First down at the 26, and the pass is dropped by Vincent Jackson. Well, we were talking about the respective coaches here, and it all begins with this man, Tony Dungy, and the branches of success. Mike Tomlin, who's now in Pittsburgh. Leslie Frazier, who is Lovie Smith's defensive coordinator, and so on down the line, all solid coaches.
And you'll see very similar blueprints as far as how each team wants to attack the other's defense or offense. Very similar coverages on defense and similar styles of plays on offense, considering they're seeing the same type of scheme on each side of the football.
2nd and 10. McCown, and it's incomplete. He was going for Evans, and there were 3 Lions, all of whom thought they would get the ball. Glover Quinn, though, deflected it, incomplete, and it'll be 3rd and 10.
Yeah, that was a tight window as it was. Josh McCown trying to take a chance there, but I think the Lions might have had a better chance coming up with that football.
How about the time of possession right now? About almost a 7-minute edge for Detroit.
Yeah, and the hardest thing about that is their defense is kind of playing a bend but don't break mentality, meaning they're forcing the offense to matriculate it down the field. Well, you're going to wear down your team if you do that, if you allow the other team to have the ball too long.
And Ford Field is in full throat right now on 3rd and 10. McCown goes down, and a big sack there by George Johnson. George Johnson with the pressure, and a loss of 11 on the play. And we'll see whether that takes the Buccaneers out of field goal range. I don't think so. Patrick Murray is coming on.
George Johnson, the beneficiary of a fantastic defensive front. What happens is everyone gets so focused on Ndamukong Suh and Ziggy Ansah that you end up getting lined up one-on-one. You have your opportunity to make a big play.
This will be a 54-yard attempt for Murray, who has connected on 8 in a row, and this kick is good. 9 straight. A 54-yarder for Patrick Murray, the rookie from Fordham, and gets the Buccaneers on the board early here in the second quarter. Lions up 7-3.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Cannon, by Chevrolet, find new roads, and by Citizen Echo Drive, powered by light. Any light never needs a battery. Citizen.
Mike Ilitch and his family, who own the Detroit Tigers and Red Wings, recently broke ground on a $650 million development project called The District. It's going to connect 5 Detroit neighborhoods and revitalize Detroit. The project is expected to be completed in 2017, and our hats are off to the Ilitch family. Jeremy Ross back deep for the Lions. Michael Kanan. And this kick way back, and the Lions will take it out on the 20-yard line. Interesting game so far, Brady Quinn. The Lions have scored, moved the ball. It looks like Tampa Bay getting a little more frisky on offense.
Yeah, they're taking more shots. They're trying to utilize a lot of the spacing and some of the Tampa 2 defense that Detroit's been showing them as well. But again, they've got to be able to run the football. They've got to be able to utilize screens, which they have. Now I'm looking for a big play out of Mike Evans or Vincent Jackson. That's what's been missing the past few weeks in the passing offense.
First down from the 20. Joyke Bell is in the backfield, and he gets the call. This week, Fox brings you the biggest fight card in broadcast television history. Junior Dos Santos will battle in one bout, and Nate Diaz in the other. It's a 2-night UFC event beginning Friday with the Ultimate Fighter finale on Fox Sports 1 and continues Saturday with UFC Fight Night on Fox. Think that guy would be pretty effective in this?
I think he'd be pretty effective in the UFC as well.
Yeah.
He's got a career in either.
Second down and 7, and the swing pass out to Reggie Bush. And this is where Bush could be dangerous, but a whole host of Buccaneers bring him down. About 1.5 yards shy of the first down, led by Danny Lansana. What a year Lansana has had. He's playing middle linebacker today with Mason Foster out of there, and Ori Lemon is playing the strong side.
And that's one of the matchups that the Detroit Lions are going to want to utilize is Reggie Bush, Theo Riddick, even Joyke Bell on the linebackers for Tampa Bay. They feel like they have an extreme mismatch in their case.
Third down and 1. Bell, the extra dimension back, power back. Buccaneers coming up to the line, and Matthew Stafford being chased from behind, and he's going to be down before he gets the first down yardage. Jacquez Smith, what a terrific play to save the first down there, forcing the Lions to punt.
Well, again, this goes back to this scheme for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have all these guys up around the line of scrimmage trying to disguise their coverage. They look like they're going to blitz, and all of a sudden back out into a zone coverage. There's really nowhere for Stafford to throw. And doing his best to get outside the pocket, but again, he can't escape. He's not athletic enough to get that first down.
Good year for Sam Martin, the punter, and a fair catch called for by Solomon Patton. The ball will go into the end zone, however, for the touchback. And the Bucs will take it out on the 20-yard line. 7-3 Lions early still in the second. Bucs have the ball first and 10 at the 20-yard line. And it's been a passing show so far for the Buccaneers. No penalties in the game. And remember, Tampa Bay coming in tied for the most with Seattle in the league. First down, handoff is to Charles Sims. And Sims picking up a couple with C.J. Mosley making the tackle.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's tied with Seattle for the most penalties in the league. The difference is Seattle's talented enough to overcome those penalties, whereas Tampa has not been able to. That's something Lovie Smith has tried to focus on throughout the week, each week, having a meeting, going over different penalties, pre-snap, post-snap. The ones that are most frustrating are pre-snap. Those are the ones the players can control but have not been able to fix.
Absolutely. Second down and 7. And the pitch going to Sims. And Sims getting back to the 20, so he'll lose a couple of yards with Ashley Palmer. Good penetration from the outside linebacker.
The Detroit Lions linebackers are so active, and the moment they see a hole open, they go to fill and try to close that hole. Ashley Palmer, in that case, did a nice job of coming up, just stopping any sort of momentum that running play could have had.
Remember, they lost the middle guy, Stephen Tulloch, with a knee injury in week 3 when he danced after a sack.
Lamar Houston got actually hurt doing that same celebration, so maybe they should figure a way of outlawing it.
How about these two? waiting to get back on the field. 3rd down and 10 from the 20. McCown has time. His pass incomplete and intercepted by Glover Quinn. It was deflected by Mike Evans into the hands of Quinn.
That's Quinn's 5th of the season. An incredible job of finding a way to actually corral that ball back in after it got tipped and adjust his body to it. Mike Evans complaining about some possibly defensive holding in that case. A lot of contact, but in the end, couldn't come down with the football. Again, Rasheed Mathis, a nice job pulling down Mike Evans' left arm, not allowing him to get his second arm up to catch the football.
Good alert play and good movement, acrobatic with the one hand. And coming into this game, only 3 teams had more interceptions than the Detroit Lions, and they are golden shape here at the 34 of Tampa Bay. Joique Bell trying to get unleashed, but not this time, as all over him there was Levante David and Ori Lemon, and no gain.
I mean, look at this play by Glover Quinn. He used his left arm to tip it back to himself and still keep his body in bounds, not allowing either leg to touch out of bounds. You can't say enough about how well this Detroit Lions defense has played, and that's where I think the difference is for them playing this month of December and January, where they haven't been successful in the past, but I think they've got a shot because of their defense.
They've lost their last 9 regular season games in December, believe it or not. And here is Stafford looking to throw up the middle, and the pass is caught by Calvin Johnson, who caught the touchdown pass earlier in that first quarter, picks up 17 here, and a first down at the 12 or the 17.
Calvin Johnson, a veteran wide receiver who has done a nice job of finding the soft spots in zone coverage. That's one of the things when you watch film of him, it's not just his size and athleticism. It's his ability to be smart, to be on the same page with the quarterback and know where the holes are in the defense. That's another element to his game that makes him so effective.
First down at the 17. George Wynn, number 38, is in the backfield now. And here is Wynn with the carry, and he gets 2 yards. Time for a game break, and let's join Joel Klatt out in L.A. Joel.
All right, Dick, Tampa Bay fans, of course, awaiting what is happening down in New Orleans. Cam Newton up and over the top, 2-yard TD run, 3rd of the season. A scuffle after this one and get a little bit ugly, but the Panthers up 17-0. The Saints in jeopardy of losing 4 straight at home. Back to Detroit, Dick, Brady, and Christina.
That's a shocking story. They're winning away, but not at home.
Well, there you go, though. There's that mathematical chance that Tampa has. 2nd
down and 8 with Reggie Bush back in the lineup. And he's lined up as a receiver for Stafford. Pass off the hands and almost re-caught by Reggie Bush. Bush almost got it on the second chance. And Jonathan Banks had an opportunity there. So they were playing a little volleyball out there in the last couple of plays.
They were, but here's what happened. It looks like it's zone coverage to Matthew Stafford. So he's throwing the ball behind Reggie to actually help him avoid Jonathan Banks, who is waiting for him outside. He's trying to stop Reggie Bush from running out to him. So what happens? A tip ball that almost gets caught by Reggie or almost intercepted, but either way, a miscommunication by the quarterback and Reggie Bush in that case.
Here's the spike at the net here in this volleyball game. 3rd down and 8 from the 15, and Gerald McCoy, penalty marker down. Let's see whether McCoy.
Well, he sure does look guilty. It seemed like he may have.
Neutral zone infraction, number 93 of the defense. Moved in the neutral zone, calling the offensive false start.
And you're going to see this from both quarterbacks. You're going to see Matthew Stafford and Josh McCown do their best with their cadence. They're going to use their toolbox, the different things the quarterback has to help keep the defense on their toes. And one thing in particular is their cadence, trying to utilize these hard counts. And in particular, when you're going against Sue or Gerald McCoy, you've got to try to keep them on their heels, not on their toes.
First penalty of the game.
One day.
3rd down and 3 after the penalty was marked off. And it's swinging out to Reggie Bush. Gets by one tackler, and Reggie Bush fighting his way may have a first down and goal. Missing the tackle was Alteron Werner, the cornerback, that could have gotten him from behind the line of scrimmage.
Reggie Bush coming up a little ginger there. You see at the beginning of that play, Matthew Stafford communicating to his offensive line to squeeze it, squeeze it. Tampa Bay again bluffing like they're going to pressure. They don't end up pressuring. They drop out, but Stafford does a nice job of finding Reggie Bush in space to pick up the first down.
And he now produces a 1st and goal from the 3 for the Lions, trying to take advantage of that turnover. Bush trying to shake it off on the sideline. And here is Joy Bell straight ahead, and Bell getting close to the 2-yard line. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Well, here's the predicament you're in when you face the Detroit Lions. If you don't put 2 guys out on Calvin Johnson, you're going to get burnt one-on-one, which we saw in one of the previous series in the first quarter. But what that allows for is a more even-numbered box to run the football. Now Detroit has the numbers, and they're able to run it more easily, given that there's one less defender in the box around the line of scrimmage.
Well,
up top again, one-on-one, but you see there's a defender out next to him.
They go to Bell again. Bell is stopped short, and a good play made from behind by William Golston, whose hometown is in Detroit, coming back home here. He's played a little less than usual in his 2nd year, and it'll be 3rd down and goal at the 1.
They're bringing in their bigger package of tight ends: Eric Ebron, Joseph Fourier, Brandon Pettigrew. I mean, all these guys are tough to cover if they indeed do some sort of play-action pass here.
Tight formation, and those tight ends are all tall. 3rd down and goal, and here is Bell, and he is stopped. I think 2nd effort, need the touchdown. It was Levante David that might have gotten him from behind, but the 2nd effort by Joy Bell gets over for the touchdown.
He's such a physical runner. He gives so much effort in 2nd efforts. Once he gets hit, his feet continue to keep churning and keep moving. And that's where he's that changeup in this Detroit Lions backfield from Reggie Bush and from Theo Riddick. He's the more powerful back, but he's still also able to get outside and catch balls at the backfield. So he's very versatile along with the rest of their crew.
Yeah, he's pretty nimble for a big guy, and that is his 6th touchdown of the season. And Matt Prater on for the extra point, trying to give the Lions an 11-point lead.
You know, Levante David was in the backfield, could have possibly made the tackle, but unfortunately he wasn't able to actually wrap it up.
They're reviewing it as they do with all turnovers and all scores. We'll take a break.
Today's game is sponsored by Pizza Hut. We're taking pizza where it's never been before.
Here's Jeff Triplett.
Touchdown.
Well, Levante David shoots the gap and gets the Joy Bell in the backfield. Unfortunately, can't bring him down. And Joy Bell is able to keep those legs churning and drive into the end zone.
Matt Prater, and the Lions lead by 14-3 with 6:01 going 34 yards in 8 plays. Bell scores, all set up by the interception by Quinn. Scoring drive for the Lions set up by Glover Quinn's 5th interception of the season. And they finally got Bell to get over the line for his 6th touchdown of the year. So it's 14-3, and now the onus with 6:01 to go in the 2nd is for the Buccaneers to move the ball and see if they can not fall that far behind. Solomon Patton is back deep. Martin will kick off for the Lions. And again, the Bucs will take it out at the 20-yard line. Well, it's December and the holidays are right around the corner. Fox helps you celebrate with a very merry Sunday fun day with 4 brand new Christmas episodes. It all starts at 8, 7 Central tonight on Fox. Well, they're Lion fans in the season's garb already, and Brady, I want to ask you about the Buccaneers here, who have passed a lot more than run. They need points right here. Do they abandon the run? Obviously not.
It's too early in the game to do so, but again, that's one of the things when you look at this Bucs offense. You see it's a little bit of immaturity by the first-year offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo.
Pass is caught by Vincent Jackson.
We talked about Jeff Tedford. Now they finally was released by the Bucs this year, dealt with some health issues, and being not only Marcus Arroyo's first year in the NFL, but also Jeff Tedford, who was initially the offensive coordinator, but due to the health issues had to step down. Marcus Arroyo, who's never called plays, is now thrust into the position of having to do that in the NFL. That's a tough task to handle.
Second down and 3. And McCown's pass is caught once again by Jackson. And what really made it difficult was the fact that it happened at the worst time. It happened right at the start of the year.
Right before the season. And talking with Josh McCown, he talked about, being that he's had this veteran experience, he was in there trying to talk with Marcus Arroyo, trying to help him out, game plan, and put these plays in together, but he was burning the candle at both ends. It became wearing on him that he wasn't getting enough rest and what he needed to prepare himself physically for the game.
Tough task for Arroyo, and there's a fumble, and the Lions surrounding the ball may have it. And the Detroit Lions, and it was number 96, Andre Fluellen, who said, look what I found. And the second turnover of this first half and of the second quarter by the Buccaneers, and the Lions are in Buck territory again, ready to do more damage. So the Bucs with the 18th consecutive game with a turnover, and that's what Lovie Smith had in Chicago that worked for him, getting that.
Well, yeah, it's hard when you're turning the football over each game. It's tough to overcome. Right there, just a bad snap. It never even got up to Josh McCown's hands. Fluellen quick enough to be able to jump on the ball as soon as he saw it. I don't know if that run play even had a chance, given Fluellen's penetration in the line.
Evan Dietrich Smith, who missed the Cincinnati game due to illness, back in there. So it's first down, and here is Reggie Bush trying to stutter step his way, and he picks up a couple of yards on first down, getting to the 30.
One of the things in years past the Detroit Lions offense missed was the ability to then take that turnover and convert it into touchdowns instead of field goals. That's something that we saw Detroit do well their last series. They'll need that again here as they continue to build this offense up to score more points in preparation for that big game in Lambeau Field at the end of the season versus Green Bay.
4.5 minutes to go in the first half, and the swing pass is out to Joyce Bell, and Bell will be about 3 yards shy of the first down. Tackled by Isaiah Fry and Jonathan Banks. So once again, the Buccaneers defense has to come up in the face of the turnovers. Now -8 on the year for Tampa Bay in that department.
It's tough sledding. It really is. This team defensively has played pretty well the past few weeks. But again, anytime you've got your offense putting you in a tough position on the field, it's tough to overcome in any game. You better believe at the end of a season when you're 2-10, there may eventually be a rift in the locker room.
Third down and 3. Looking one way, and then the pass. What a catch made by Reggie Bush. Looked like he wasn't going to be able to hold on with his fingers. Made it all the way, and a loss of 4 yards on the play.
It's a loss of 4 yards, but an unbelievable throw and catch by Matt Stafford and Reggie Bush. I mean, to get it around William Golston at that time, that was unbelievable.
And they're looking at Bush to see whether he's all right. So a field goal try coming up now for Matt Prater, a 46-yard attempt. He's 8 of 12 from 40 and beyond. And Prater's kick, and it's good. Lions add to their lead, and they have 10 points off of Tampa Bay turnovers and now lead it 17-3. Lions looking to go 9-4. Jim Caldwell took over as head coach in January, replacing Jim Schwartz. Lions won 7 of their first 9, and they're in that playoff picture as we know. They did it even though Calvin Johnson missed 3 games with an injury. Reggie Bush missed 5. Looking ahead, the Lions, December has been a problem for them. They've lost 11 in a row in December and January, including the playoffs, 9 straight in the regular season. But they're leading here, and it's in December, 17-3.
I think Jim Caldwell brings so much more optimism, given his experience, not only with the Colts previously, but the Baltimore Ravens. He's had that postseason in December, January success.
He felt all along the team would win. He just didn't know how many they would win. And he says we're playing, not even thinking about the playoffs. He says when you peek around the corner, you get embarrassed. This is a guy who's a stable quarterback, a coach who the team listens to. He communicates well with them, and Sue is the guy that told us couldn't be any better in that department.
Yeah, he's very honest and truthful. Now something that all these players appreciated out of Jim Caldwell, and speaking with them on a week-to-week basis in meetings, they really felt like they could relate. They had great lines of communication, and they've all been on the same page. Sometimes you get involved where there's a gap between the coaches communicating to the players, but that has not been the case with Jim Caldwell.
First down. McCown has to run with the receivers covered. McCown is 7 for 14 as a passer, 60 yards and an interception, and a 3-yard gain on that play.
And he's going to have to use those wheels throughout the game. Detroit's defensive front will continue to keep pressuring him, especially given the fact that they've got to throw to get back into this game. So he's going to have to rely on his athleticism.
2nd and 7. Lions know they can put the pressure on as well, as this one is thrown away. And it'll be 3rd and 7. Ashley Palmer putting the pressure on. And so, you know, all of a sudden the margin of error has really diminished for this Tampa Bay team, and it's still early.
It has, and you'll continue to see the Detroit Lions put both of those linebackers right over the football. DeAndre Levy that time was able to get to the quarterback to affect him not being able to sit in the pocket and make a throw. They'll keep putting the pressure on Josh McCown. He's one of the most pressured quarterbacks in all of the NFL.
3rd and 7 with 2:28 to go, or 2:29 to go in the first half. And McCown's pass, and it's a catch. Catch ruled by Mike Evans after the deflection by Darius Slay. Boy, I'll tell you what, good presence of mind for Mike Evans to stay with that.
It was an incredible balancing act. He caught it kind of on the, as he was coming down to the ground, but was still able to keep his feet in.
13 yards and a first down at the 36. The running play to Charles Sims, and he'll be knocked back for a loss thanks to Ndamukong Suh. And Suh making his first play of the game. We're down to the 2-minute warning here at Ford Field in Detroit, with the Lions leading the Buccaneers 17-3. Follow your favorite team all season long. Go to iTunes.com/NFL. 2 minutes remain in the first half. Lions lead 17-3. Buccaneers with a 2nd down and 12 on the 34. McCown going up top, downfield, and it's caught inside the 20 by Vincent Jackson. Is that a broken play? Whatever it was, McCown found his man.
It was a broken play, and I'll tell you what, Josh McCown took a lick, and he got right back up.
15 yards after the end of the play, first down.
And Ndamukong Suh with a personal foul, a hit against McCown, and they'll tack some more yards on it.
You know, just when we thought Ndamukong Suh didn't have these dirty plays.
Ooh.
Right there, you can expect a FedEx envelope in his locker this next week. Nothing clean about this play. And it's unnecessary.
50-yard play, and then they tack on half the distance.
Is eligible. Number 64 is eligible.
And it'll be a 1st and goal at the 9-yard line. And once again, Kevin Pamphile, an extra offensive lineman. The Bucs do that a lot.
Yeah, and one of the keys to doing that is being able to run the football in. They've got plenty of time, and you don't want to give the football back to Detroit with this much time left in the 2nd quarter.
I would say the Bucs need a touchdown, and we're going to have a timeout called by the Lions. That's the first timeout of this first half by either team.
It's a 30-second timeout.
Well, halftime is coming up shortly, and to check on the menu of what's coming on at halftime, here's Kurt Menefee.
Coming up on the Visa Halftime, I'll be joined by all these guys as the Steelers and Bengals lock up in a key AFC North battle, and the Ravens look to take a wild card spot from the Dolphins. We get you caught up on all the action coming up on the Visa Half.
Hey, who's this good-looking guy?
Howie or Michael? Which one you talk about?
They'll be a lot more animated at halftime, I assure you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Than those cutouts. Meanwhile, Lions call a timeout to set up their defense. 1st and goal. They'll mark it at the 8. Empty backfield, and McCown fires to the end zone. Tipped and intercepted. Picked off by James Ihedebo. And the loose ball Not sure whether Ihedebo was down or not, but there might be yet another turnover on a fumble. So another deflected interception. And Sue has to be pushed away by the back judge. This moments after the penalty.
And there's nothing good going on at the bottom of that pile. Believe me. This is how guys make a living, so they'll do whatever they can to get that football on the bottom of that pile. Just unspeakable things.
How about the Buccaneers with a 1st and goal, needing a score?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't like the play call and the decision and all of that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You've got, before the play, 1:49 left on the clock. You know how potent Detroit's offense can be.
Tampa Bay has it. That's the call, but we'll be looking at it, and it'll be reviewed.
To me, you have too much time left. You have a sufficient enough of timeouts. There's no need to throw the football right now. This, to me, again, is a rookie mistake by the offensive coordinator, Marcus Arroyo. Run the football. Take some time off the clock. You don't need to put your quarterback in that sort of position. Now, again, wasn't a great throw or great decision, but in the end, there's no reason to be in that position.
Vincent Jackson was the intended receiver. Luke Stocker forced the fumble. So now it'll be 1st down and 10 from the 10. McCown quickly gets it out to Murphy, and Louis Murphy gets down to the 6-yard line. Tahir Whitehead, the middle linebacker, making the tackle, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still have all 3 timeouts left.
They could take their time, but one of the elements why they may not be running the football is, again, they're without Austin Safarian Jenkins and Brandon Myers at tight end, so they've got Luke Stocker and Cameron Brayton, 2 younger tight ends who may not be as caught up on the offense and the blocking schemes as you'd like.
So the Buccaneers get another chance close to the goal line to get some points before halftime. 2nd and goal from the 6. McCown, and he had no chance. Coming up the middle, led by DeAndre Levy, a whole slew of blue-shirted Lions, and a loss on the play of 8 yards. Now it gets more difficult.
That was just too easy for DeAndre Levy. On the right of your screen, just coming right through the gap there. Nowhere for Josh McCown to go. And unfortunately, he didn't even have a hot route built in. I hate to pick on the offense in this system, but I just feel like he's put in such a tough predicament and such tough situations when you watch the film over the course of the season. It's been hard for any quarterback in Tampa to be successful.
No question about it. Really making it difficult for the Bucs, who call a timeout. They have 2 left, but they started at they were at the 6-yard line, and now they're back to the 14, where it'll be 3rd and goal. Again, coming up, it's the Visa halftime report with Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy.
That Dolphins-Ravens matchup. I mean, it's you got Haloti Ngata out now. He's their big run stopper. The Dolphins may have a nice opportunity to work themselves into the playoff.
I was going to talk about how Ndamukong Suh looked so mature when we talked to him on Friday. And this was a throwback.
He was playing it up for you, Dave.
Yeah, that was a throwback. Now it's 3rd and goal from the 14. McCown has no target and goes out of bounds and gets hit by Rasheem Mathis as he does so. So it'll be 4th down, and now we have a scuffle going on, and a flag is down at the 17.
It's getting pretty chippy. Jason Jones on the bottle of what looked to be somewhat of a little bit of a scuffle with Demir Dotson.
There are 9 seconds left, by the way, not 17 as you see. 9 officially.
Foul. Face mask, number 91 of the defense. To half the distance to the goal, automatic 1st down.
And a big break for the Buccaneers there. So Tampa Bay turns the ball over, and the Buccaneers take advantage of Lion penalties and a face mask call against Jason Jones, and that'll be an automatic 1st down, half the distance to the goal. 9 seconds remaining in the half. The ball will be placed just outside the 5.
You've got to find a way of working your matchup to Mike Evans or Vincent Jackson. Those are your two playmakers. With 9 seconds left, you have an opportunity for a couple plays. You got to find a way of getting one of those two guys the football.
First and goal from the 5, and the pass is caught for the touchdown by Mike Evans. So he fronted Ihedebo and caught the touchdown pass, and a flag goes down again.
After the play is over, personal foul, defense. Correction, offense. That penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
Can you believe what we have seen in the last few minutes with the turnovers?
Well, I'm sure the officials could be, yeah, and they're going to be a little bit confused. There's so many penalties going back and forth. Well, Mike Evans, again, the matchup at the top of your screen, he's just going to play basketball. Josh McCown's going to throw him a little alley-oop, put it up high where he can use his body and his hands out front to separate himself from the defender. There's not much you can do to stop that.
He posted him up.
He did.
Under the basket. And it's now 17-9. Patrick Murray with the extra point, and it's 17-10. A wild final minutes with penalties galore and a lot of personal fouls. Well, tonight on Fox Sports Live, don't miss an inspiring story as Tiger Woods meets a 3-year-old who is the most unlikely of golfers. Now he's inspiring Tiger and redefining what it means to be disabled. Fox Sports Live is tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. So it all started with Ndamukong Suh with the personal foul against the quarterback McCown, and then it went from there.
Yeah, the penalties aided their ability to actually get that score, but again, the key plays to me were Vincent Jackson getting open downfield and then Mike Evans capitalizing on the back end. They haven't had that production from their wide receiver core like they'd like to. So right now, getting those guys involved in the game early, it's only going to pay off here in the second half.
But boy, did the Bucs labor to get a score when they had a first and goal, seems like eons ago, at the 6-yard line.
Doesn't seem like anything's coming easy right now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But again, you look at Mike Evans and how much he has matured and grown over the course of this season to turn into one of the go-to guys on this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. You compare him to Calvin Johnson his rookie year, surprisingly, it's not even close.
Well, since week 7, the bye week for Tampa Bay, he is tied for the league lead in receiving touchdowns, and so he certainly made his mark. You saw Jeremy Ross, number 12, back to return the kick, and he gets it at the 4-yard line. Here is Ross on the return, still on his feet, and Ross gets an extra 8 yards out of it. Isaiah Fry.
That's the end of the first half.
Making the tackle finally. And that's going to do the situation at the end of the first half. Remember, the Detroit Lions have scored, Brady, 10 points off of turnovers and have a 7-point lead over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But how about the back-to-back turnovers, which gave the Buccaneers another chance, and then another personal foul? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The Lions lead the Bucs 17-10 as we get ready for the start of the third quarter. And today's excitement is brought to you by Nissan. The Lions defense, 3 takeaways and 2 sacks, 10 points off of the takeaways. But keep in mind, the Buccaneers have their touchdown off of the turnover. What a wild final minute within the 10-yard line, and plus personal fouls all over the place. So do we settle down now with these teams, and what do you foresee for both second half?
Team that ends up playing the cleanest in the second half is probably the team that's going to come away with the win. Both teams are doing a nice job defending against the run, so it's going to come down to which quarterback and which wide receiver cast can do a better job of making plays in the second half. Both these defenses are forcing each offense to matriculate the ball down the field, so whoever can go without turnovers, without penalties, but then make a play as well out at the wide receiver position is going to come away with the win.
You know, the late and great coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. As you look at the halftime stats, Hank Stram, who won a Super Bowl for the Chiefs, his favorite saying was, "We're going to matriculate the ball down the field," folks. And you've adopted that. So I'm glad that that phrase lives as Solomon Patton gets set to return the second half kickoff. And once again, Sam Martin kicks it out of the end zone. Well, Christina Pink, how you holding up down there?
I'm doing pretty well, Dick. And, you know, Brady just talking about the cast of receivers for both teams. I asked Lovie Smith how to get more production from Mike Evans, Vincent Jackson. He said, we have to take advantage of those matchups. He said, this first series will be critical. He said, we didn't play a perfect first half, but we're only down a touchdown. Also spoke to Jim Caldwell. He said, we need to get more production from the running game. They're going to look to establish that more here in this second half. Just 19 yards rushing, and they've got to finish drives, Dick.
Well, it's a good report, and so this is critical to the Tampa Bay Bucs, Lovie Smith, it feels.
Yeah, I mean, again, they've got to try to utilize the one-on-one matchups when they get that opportunity on the outside. They don't get them very often playing against Detroit.
Well, a timeout before the first play is run in the second half. So the Buccaneers call a timeout, and Lovie Smith can't be happy with that.
No, he's not going to be happy about that. As tight as this game could possibly be in the fourth quarter, you don't want to waste any timeouts. But, you know, going back to what each coach is trying to get accomplished here in the second half, Jim Caldwell talked about trying to start to get the running game going. Well, the difference between these two strategies of these two teams is the defensive side for Tampa Bay. They're not going to put down an extra defender in the box always to stop the run. They're going to play that Tampa 2 defense and try to use those front seven to get the job done. We'll see if Detroit can do a better job.
I don't remember when I see a team call a timeout before the first play after having the whole halftime, and it's going to be a running play to Doug Martin. He hasn't been active today. This is only his third carry of the game, and Dominican Sue making the tackle after a couple of yards. So tell me what that's all about.
Well, you had plenty of time to get whatever you needed coming into this second half ready to go. So, again, it talks to the youth and experience of offensive coordinator Marcus Arroyo. And I can't speak to that enough, how difficult that is working with a first-year play caller.
I mean, he was the quarterback's coach. Second down and 7 under Tedford. And McCown's going to go down, and DeAndre Levy coming in with the sack. Second time he's gotten to McCown in this game. And there'll be a loss on the third sack of the game by the Lions.
DeAndre Levy's just going to come off the edge and find no one there for him in protection. They've only got 5 guys there blocking and no one accountable for DeAndre Levy. Josh McCown's got to see that and try to find a way of getting the ball out of his hand.
Fortunately for him, he held on to the ball and didn't lose it.
And actually, that's probably the better of the two worst. You sometimes try to make a play and you commit a turnover. Taking a sack at least gives you a chance.
Tackling machine, you called him, and that's what he is. Martin goes out on 3rd and 13. Here's Murphy. Flag is down, and Lewis Murphy will be short of the first down by 4 yards, but there's a penalty.
Well, he wouldn't have gotten the first down, but they're not even giving themselves a chance.
Offside. Defense, number 94. Moved into the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Well, there you go. I stand corrected. Ziggy Ansah's offsides.
So it is 3rd down, and
that would give them a little bit better of an opportunity to try to get a first down here. But when it's these 3rd and long situations, a lot of defensive linemen, the only thing on their mind is getting to the quarterback. So he's going to do all he can to get as close to that ball on the line of scrimmage and get off the ball for a sack.
3rd and 9. Low snap. McCown's pass and nearly intercepted. Nearly picked off by Cassius Vaughn.
Did a nice job breaking on the football. Cassius Vaughn ended up undercutting that route. Look at the Detroit Lions putting 3 defensive linemen up top to get one-on-one matchups versus the Tampa Bay offensive line. And ended up adding an additional backer. Cassius Vaughn's matched up in the slot on Vincent Jackson. Gets pushed off in the beginning, but does a nice job. Has the speed to recover and undercut the route.
Kanan and Ross at the 27. And tripped up. And a good special teams play made by Leonard Johnson. So Matthew Stafford, who's completed 17 of 21 and a touchdown, coming out to lead the Lions.
This game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By Ford. Beautiful things happen when you go further. By Burger King. Mix and match 2 large premium sandwiches for just $5 only at Burger King. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
And welcome back to Ford Field, where the Lions have a touchdown lead over the Bucs. You see the offensive leaders so far for Detroit.
Alert, alert.
Calvin Johnson already with the touchdown pass. Ross in motion toward the line. Play action for Stafford. He's gone deep. Calvin Johnson is there. Seems like he's there all day. Golson and McDougal were there.
And the best matchup they have on the field is Calvin Johnson versus either safety for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brad McDougal in for Major Wright, less experience there. And the Detroit Lions smell blood. They're coming after it.
53 yards. You know, it's just getting open, and it's just having the size and the ability to jump if you have to. So it'll be 1st and goal at the 8.
One of the things they preach is being deeper than the deepest, and that time neither safety was deep enough.
Reggie Bush out of the backfield, and that was a pitch high and outside thrown by the pitcher. Boy, we told Stafford that the Dodgers, you know, going after John Lester, his face brightened because Clayton Kershaw, his buddy from high school days in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Great pitcher with the Dodgers.
Calvin Johnson already with 100 yards receiving in this game. Seems to happen every single week almost every time he's in the lineup.
2nd down and goal. Joyce Bell. Joyce Bell. And he gets to the 5 where Ori Lemon, former Cowboy, making his 2nd start at linebacker, gaining 2 yards on the play. So Johnson with 112 yards, and what else is new? This is his 4th 100-yard game of the season. Third and goal.
They bring in Joseph Fourier down here at tight end. He's got hurt his ankle earlier in the game. They'd like to use him down here in the red zone.
Stafford, and the pass is incomplete. They were trying to get it to Ross, but good coverage, and Buccaneers were there to get a piece of it. So it is 4th down, and a good hold right here by the Tampa Bay Bucs.
You got Jeremy Ross on the inside in the slot. He's going to run a little out route. A nice coverage by Levante David, being able to get in that throwing window. Matthew Stafford does all he can to sidearm sling that ball into the window, but just cannot fit it in.
Matt Prater on for a 23-yard attempt, trying to give the Lions a 10-point lead. His first field goal is from 46. This is the chip shot, and the Lions score first in this 3rd quarter and take a 20-10 lead. Calvin Johnson with his 5 catches, 112 yards, 53-yard play that ended up a field goal for the Lions, and 1 touchdown, which started the game in the 1st quarter for Detroit. McCown getting ready to go back to work.
And Tampa Bay's got to find a way of, again, getting the ball down the field, getting some big plays of their own. They had one earlier with Vincent Jackson. They're going to need that again with Mike Evans and the rest of the wide receiver corps.
And they'll start again from the 20-yard line. Solomon Patton back there. And this is a team the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to do well on 1st down. Saturday, Joe Buck and Greg Norman will be in Florida to bring you the final round of the Franklin Templeton Shootout as some of the world's best golfers compete with over $3 million on the line. Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Well, Brady, the Buccaneers have averaged under 3 yards on 1st down, so they haven't really had the luxury of 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2.
That's tough for any team, trying to get back on track and put yourself in 3rd and short. They just have not had success on 1st down.
Charles Sims gets about 3. Cassius Vaughn is there, and Sims is going after Vaughn right there. So I don't think that the tempers have calmed down totally.
No, the break
My
over
guess.
halftime didn't aid to that. And you see every part of the Detroit Lions defense is trying to make the Tampa Bay Buccaneers one-dimensional. That's something Terrell Austin talked about this week, was forcing Josh McCown to win the game, stopping the run for Tampa Bay, and making them have to throw the ball downfield.
24 passes, 9 rushes. 2nd down and 7. Play action, and McCown in trouble again. Escapes for the moment, and he throws it away. You know, I got to ask you, what can Josh McCown do under these circumstances? Because he's running away from great pressure and not able to get the ball downfield. And there you see Dietrich Smith and trying to calm McCown down, it seems.
Yeah, in that last play, he was getting pressure from to hear Whitehead from behind, and Ndamukong Suh again lays another blow right as he releases the football. That's a legal hit. But again, Josh McCown's got to continue to play tough, keep fighting through this battle to keep it close, but he looks a little shaken up.
3rd down and 7. Evans to the right, Jackson to the left on 3rd down and 7. And this pass is going to be, let's see, Jackson there, not able to get to it. Mathis covering on the play, but once again, McCown had to get rid of it in a hurry. The Lions were in his face.
Josh McCown has to continue to get the ball out of his hand before his wide receivers are even able to get out of their routes. The Detroit Lions are going to continue to bring pressure until the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can hurt them, or at least show that they can pick it up. To hear Whitehead again in on the hit on the quarterback, they've got to be more stout up front and give Josh McCown a chance.
Kanan kicking to Ross. Less than 5 minutes into this 3rd quarter. And Ross with the fair catch. 3 turnovers in this game, 2 against Tampa Bay, and everyone has capitalized on them.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K.
And welcome back to Ford Field, where the Lions are leading by 30-20. Calvin Johnson continues to pile on these amazing statistics, fastest to 10,000 yards in the history of the game. And here's Joyke Bell, who has scored a touchdown today, crosses the 40-yard line and gets 3.
Again, Calvin Johnson utilizing all parts of his ability as a wide receiver, being able to catch the tough passes down close to the ground, finding the spots in the zone coverage, and then stretching the field vertically with his speed and his ability to contort his body back to the ball. This is why he's the best wide receiver in the NFL.
And that's why the Lions are in great playoff situation right now, maybe division. And here is the end around to Jeremy Ross on the reverse. And Ross doesn't get all that much thanks to Deshaun Goldson, the free safety. 4 yards, a little trickery run up that time by Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator of the Lions.
Yeah, what about Matthew Stafford throwing a little block versus Michael Johnson on the side? Hands the ball off, sets himself up, tries to throw a little shoulder in there.
He's big enough.
Maybe that's all that weight training he's been doing in the offseason.
So Stafford now facing 3rd down and 3 on the Lion 45. Reggie Bush checking in. He's lined up as a receiver. And a flag goes down, and we're going to have a false start against the Lions.
False start, number 15 in the offense.
Golden Tate.
5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Didn't they teach you guys? Tell me what they taught you guys.
It's a higher academic institution, but I guess they didn't teach the wide receivers to watch the football. So, but yeah, look, that's something Matthew Stafford's going to continue to try to utilize throughout the game, is that hard count. So he's got to do a better job of just focusing on his responsibilities and watching the football.
You see Golden Tate shaking his head as he took a spot out to the right flank. So now 3rd and 8. Stafford needs some help, and he's not going to get it. And finally being run down by Jaquez Smith. That's the 2nd time in this game that Smith has come from behind and has run down Matthew Stafford.
And credit the Tampa Bay defense. There was nowhere to go with the football. Matthew Stafford did his best to buy as much time as possible, but just nowhere to go.
So now 4th down, and Sam Martin will kick it away. Solomon Patton to return. Good high kick, not long, and the fair catch called for by Patton at the 22. 20-10. Question is, can McCown get any time to get the ball downfield? We'll find out. 10-point lead for the Lions. Neither team has been able to run the ball, and the difference in the game in the fact that the Lions have protected Stafford, the Bucs have not protected McCown.
And Matthew Stafford's been more efficient than Josh McCown when he's given the opportunity to pass the football as well.
Murphy going in motion, 1st down at the 22, and here they come again, and incomplete. So once again, the pass rush is there. Luke Stocker was the intended receiver as McCown had a backpedal against pressure by the Lions. Coming from everywhere.
Well, Tampa Bay was trying to set up a little misdirection screen to their tight end here. As McCown makes the play action fake, he does the best he can to get away from the pressure, get the throw off, but it didn't look or appear as if there was much room to run anyways.
Cassius Vaughn came in from the secondary, so it's 2nd and 10. And the running play to Doug Martin. Martin is going to get a 1st down, so that is the best running play of the game. Sue makes the tackle, and it'll be a 1st down, pickup of 11.
Number 62 in the
And
offense.
a holding penalty will nullify that.
Penalty.
Well, that is
Still
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers story in microcosm right now. Holding called against the center, Evan Dietrich Smith.
Yeah, but that's the type of play call the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to continue to run. These draws, these screens, things of that nature to have a little more success and try to get the Detroit Lions to rush upfield, which will then create running lanes for Tampa Bay. So continue to work in those draws and so forth. But again, they can't keep putting themselves in these positions of 2nd and long with these holdings and pre-snap penalties.
No question about it. So instead of a 1st down, it'll be 1st down or 2nd down and 14. McCown, and this pass will be caught and will get it to about 9 yards shy of the 1st down. Vincent Jackson with the catch. They came in again on McCown. It was not easy. 28 dropbacks, 3 sacks, 8 hurries, 5 hits. They all add up, Brady.
Yeah, and O'Neal Cousins got beat on that particular play, and Josh McCown's going to feel it tomorrow. I mean, he has just been run around the field, knocked down, drag out throughout this game. You've got to respect the fact how tough he has played to remain in this football game with the hits he's taken.
3rd and 9. Empty backfield. Quick pass. Caught short of the 1st down is Vincent Jackson. He'll be shy by about 1.5 yards. And 2 of the toughest hits that McCown has experienced were from Ndamukong Suh.
And the first one clearly illegal. Get a shot up into his face, and almost similar, but the difference here is Ndamukong Suh not throwing his elbow into his face mask, and the other difference there was the timing of it. He got him just after he released the football, which is legal, versus the other one, which ended up being a personal foul. And as I mentioned before, he's probably going to be receiving a FedEx package from Roger Goodell on that one. 4th down and 1. Do you work for them? Anyway, Kanan will be kicking, and Jeremy Ross goes back deep. So 4th and 1, and when you're on the 31, you feel your defense can hold him, and here is Ross still on his feet. Flag is down, and usually that's holding or a legal block in the back against the return team. Looks like it may be on Corey Fuller.
Jeff Triplett.
Fuller saw his brother last week. Kyle Fuller plays defensive back for the Bears in that Thanksgiving game. It's fun to watch their matchup, talk about their family and just how athletic they are and their ability to both be able to make it to the NFL.
Illegal blocking the back. Return team. 10-yard penalty, 1st down, timeout.
So a timeout, illegal block. And so once again, the Bucs defense called upon to keep the game within range here. But the hits that McCown has taken, boy. Josh McCown, and has a reputation of toughness as a quarterback, but got to be reasonable here with what he's had to endure so far in this game. Yet it's a 10-point game with 5:42 to go in the third and a first down at the 12 for the Lions.
Ricky.
Screen pass to Joyke Bell. Gets away. He can do that. First down, a lot more. And Joyke Bell gets it out to the 38-yard line. Golson missed the initial tackle. And a gain of 27 for the Lions.
A well-timed up screen by the Detroit Lions offense. Joyke Bell benefited from nice blocking downfield. In particular, Jed Collins, his fullback, set up a nice little block for him to really spur the long reception.
Lions have 229 passing yards, 28 rushing yards. Lead by 10. Reggie Bush checks in. From the 39, handoff to Bush, and he gets tripped up. Good play made by T.J. Fatinikin. Gain of 2.
This is one of the few second and longs we've really seen for the Detroit Lions today. They've done a nice job of being able to stay manageable on third down and having success on first and second down. That, to me, has been one of the biggest differences you've seen between these two offenses.
Right. The Bucs have not had that luxury.
Yeah, and even though Detroit hasn't had success running the football, they've done a good enough job in completing the short passes here and there to keep them within third and manageable.
Second down and 8. Quick one to Golden Tate. Tate with a good catch and a first down, spinning his way. Golden Tate, and a first down into Buccaneer territory. Game break time. Kurt Menefee.
Well, the quarterback struggles continue in Cleveland, except there for Indianapolis's Andrew Luck. Picked off by Justin Gilbert. Second defensive touchdown of the day for the Browns. The first was on a Luck fumble in the end zone. Cleveland leads at 21-7 in the third. Dick, Brady, and Christina.
Everyone talks about the Cleveland quarterback situation. Their defense has really allowed them to be still in the playoff hunt and in the division hunt at this point.
First down, play action, and the pass getting out to the tight end Ebron. Ebron gets another first down, and he makes a solid collision to Danny Lansana in the process. 11 yards, and now the Lions in business in Tampa Bay territory.
That's what they drafted Ebron for, his athletic ability. He's got the size of a tight end, but he runs like a wide receiver, and you saw it there with his hops. Being able to get a few extra yards.
Boy, knocked Major Wright a couple of yards down. So Ebron, one of 3 tight ends active today for the Lions. And a first down at the 38 of the Bucs. And the ball gets loose. And Stafford picks it up and throws it away and knocks his own teammate on the sideline. What else can we see in this game, Brady?
What a heady play by Matt Stafford, though. Just being able to react in the situation he was given. Jim Caldwell talked about, looked like a hit off the foot of the pulling guard and off the butt of the center. But Jim Caldwell talked about one of the things he liked most about Matt Stafford was his football acumen, his ability to make the smart play, and you saw it right there.
I don't know about George Wynn. He got knocked for a loop on the sideline by Stafford after he alertly threw it away before going out of bounds. So second down and 10, 2:40 to go in the third, and here's the pass on time to Calvin Johnson. What else is new? So Calvin Johnson, who makes his 6th reception of the game, 18 yards, so he has 130 yards in receiving yards today.
And Matthew Stafford opened up that window by utilizing his eyes. He looked off the defense to the left just enough to move the linebacker and create a window for the throw to Calvin Johnson. Yeah. Calvin Johnson did a nice job of corralling it in.
And a first down at the 20-yard line. Give us to Reggie Bush. Bush gets another first down. Lions are rolling. Lansana on the tackle and a gain of 12 yards. Coming back into the lineup today after being out the last 3 games with ankle and back injuries. Missing 5 of the last 7 gives them an extra dimension, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, and it looks to me like they're really building off the momentum they had last week versus Chicago on Thanksgiving Day and bringing a similar style of offensive football into this game.
First and goal at the 8. Remember, they did not score a touchdown in their previous 2 games before the Thanksgiving tilt. Joyce Bell. And he gets down to the 2-yard line. Golson wrestles him out of bounds. And an injured Buccaneer.
Well, that's Levante David, and that is some bad news. He's an essential part of this defense and the captain of the team.
Well, we have seen the Detroit Lions be physical on both sides of the ball today, really.
Yeah, they've really won the battle of the line of scrimmage on both parts, whether it's the defensive line or the offensive line. They've been the more physical team in this case, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, again, continue to battle through injuries. The team's pretty banged up at this point. They can't afford to lose another talented player like Levante David.
Gerald McCoy was injured earlier in the game, but came back into play.
Let's take a look at what happened to Levante David. As he's running to the sideline of the football, something he does so well. It appears as if he gets hit in the back of the head by Calvin Johnson's knee, and I've suffered a couple of those before in my career, and I didn't end up walking away without a concussion, so that's something that I'm sure he's battling right now. People always think it's those hits that happen to the front of the head, but it's actually to the side and the back of the head.
Really?
But a lot of times they catch you off guard and cause those concussions. You wake up seeing stars or black out for a little bit. It's a very scary feeling.
You know, it's amazing. You talk about how Lovie Smith, when he coached the Bears, has seen the Lions a lot. You talk about the Lions' problems in December, having lost 9 straight regular season games. Lovie is out there to make sure his guy is all right. But the fact is that you got to have a feeling this is a different Detroit Lion team. A lot of the same personnel, but Jim Caldwell has them playing in a certain way. The way they came back after their 2 losses to Arizona and New England, beating Chicago, needing this win today to get back into the 6th playoff round.
Yeah, I think it's his unwavering confidence in his team and its ability to be able to put up points on the board and shut teams down on the defensive side of the football. You talk about offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi as well. He's got that experience being down in New Orleans, having so much success in the offensive side of the football with Drew Brees. So they continue to bring that confidence to the Detroit Lions, knowing that they can help guide them through December and January to get to the playoffs.
There's Joe Lombardi, and talking about Caldwell, he said, I had a lot of people influencing me, but, you know, Ray Dempsey was the name he mentioned out of Southern Illinois. He says, winning is hard. You got to get after it. He never forgot that lesson. Brandon McGee replaces David at weak side backer. George Wynn, number 38, has come in at the tailback. Play action for Stafford, and he's not going to get it away. Gets tackled at the 10-yard line by William Golston. And a loss of 8.
That's one of those quick hitting play action plays. He was hoping to get his fullback in the flat, Jed Collins, but unfortunately the pass rush of the Tampa Bay defensive line got to him first. Golston in particular.
It's amazing how this Buccaneer defense, keeping them in the game, they still have to worry about this 3rd down and goal from the 10. But if they hold him, another field goal try would be coming up.
And they like to utilize Joseph Fourier, tight end, down in the red zone.
You've been right once today. Here's the pass into the end zone. And guess what? You're right again. You're 2 for 2, my friend, in the red zone. Fourier with the touchdown reception.
Well, not only is he a red zone touchdown specialist, he's also a dance enthusiast. He likes to bring that little flavor and action to the game, but he utilizes that size. He's 6'7". He's a big target. He does a nice job getting vertical and using his hands to catch the football. A lot of people take that for granted sometime, but he's had a lot of success throughout his career. Obviously not as much this season, being plagued a little bit by injury.
2 catches in the game. Had 4 of the season. This is his first touchdown reception of the year. Matt Prater with the extra point. 10 plays, 88 yards, chewing up 5.5 minutes, and the Detroit Lions now lead it 27-10 with seconds remaining in the third.
Look at the dance moves. He likes to mix it up with each one of them. A lot of, I don't know what to call that. He's twerking there. Look at it, so creative. A little disco. That's back in your area, Dick. Now he's doing some sort of sprint. No, I don't even know what that is. I need a whole separate scouting report on the different dance moves that are out there.
Well, if Calvin Johnson is around him, he's dancing with the star.
Exactly.
27-10. Let's see it from another angle.
Now that's just right up in your face, right into your living room. There's no part of that I want to see. But he has fun with it.
And the Lions, with 15 seconds left, lead it 27-10. Here's the scoring drive once again.
And you note at the bottom of your screen those 10-plus plays today. That's what Tampa Bay forces teams to do. Matriculate the ball down the field, but the combination of Matthew Stafford and this wide receiver core and tight ends is too good.
Solomon Patton will run this one out and gets just short of the 20-yard line. Well, Week 14 continues later today on Fox, and for some of you on CBS. And then tonight it's Sunday Night Football on NBC, and tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN. Well, the Buccaneers came in 3 games out of first with 4 to play, and Carolina is stomping over New Orleans 38-3, and the Falcons have to play Green Bay, but Tampa Bay not doing their part of the bargain.
No, they're not, especially offensively, and the offensive line needs to step up and do a better job of protecting Josh McCown.
From the 19-yard line, here is Doug Martin, and that'll do it for the third quarter as the Detroit Lions add to their lead. Tough day for Josh McCown. Unable to get anything going. 27-10. Fox NFL Sunday returns after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Well, Lovie Smith told our girl down on the sidelines that Christina Pink that the first series was going to be crucial in this second half. Instead, the Lions scored 10 points. Let's see what McCown does on 2nd down and 4. Backs up and has to throw it away. More pressure. Ndamukong Suh this time.
Yeah, Ndamukong Suh got to Josh McCown. He wasn't able to read back across the field to Vincent Jackson. Had him open, but again, the timing of when you try to get the ball off as a quarterback to when the pressure is there is the tough part. But at least they have a better opportunity being in 3rd and 4 as opposed to 3rd and 10, what they've lived in the majority of this game.
13 of 27 is McCown, 149 yards, a TD pass to Evans and 2 interceptions. 3rd down and 4 at the 25. Charles Sims, the running back, out to the right. And the pass caught, 1st down by Vincent Jackson. Busy day for Vincent Jackson today. That is his 8th catch of the game.
Well, they've felt a need to try to work to him to get him going. Again, he's gone 8 games without a touchdown reception. So again, they've got to try to find a way of getting him involved in the game. He's too talented of a wide receiver not to try to go to on a more consistent basis. You see him there, why he's so good. He's able to get open versus smaller Darius Slay. They should continue to work that matchup given Slay's youth.
Only 2 touchdown receptions for Jackson. None in the last 8 games.
5 seconds of Mike. Hey,
1st down on the 37.
Lion. Go.
McCown gets hit again, puts it up for grabs, and a flag goes down. Not playing the ball was Darius Slay, and he may be called for pass interference.
Yeah, he will be. Darius Slay wasn't able to turn back and look for the football. Nice job by Josh McCown just getting that ball off, given the pressure he was facing.
Darrell Tapp, the pressure. Number 52.
Darrell Tapp running through the inside after a game and wasn't able to get to Josh McCown in time, but again, those hits continue to keep adding up. Vincent Jackson on a double move, tries to get up the sideline, does a nice job of trying to find the football and getting back to it.
24-yard penalty. And the Bucs have a first down at the 39 of the Lions.
Lions have really bailed out Tampa Bay throughout this game with some of these penalties, allowing them the opportunity to get into the Lions territory.
And allowed them to get their touchdown. This is what McCown has had to endure. Sims now in motion to the left. Up the middle, Jackson again, first down. And down he goes at the 26. Once again, the playoff picture here. Keep in mind that if the Lions win this game, they're back into the wild card. Carolina beating New Orleans. So the NFC South winner will be in the playoffs, even if they have a losing record. And of course, the Lions still chasing the Packers, one game behind them in the race in the NFC North. From the 26, first down. And they get it out to Martin, and Martin is upended by Cassius Vaughn. Good play by the former Colt. No gain.
Yeah, Patrick Omame tried to get out there to set up the screen, but Cassius Vaughn reacted, saw it, got to the running back before the offensive lineman could get out there to set up his block. Again, putting him in second and long, second and 10. Now they've got to try to find a way to put themselves more in a third and short scenario.
McCown gets time for a change, and this pass to Evans, and it is ruled a touchdown. Now, they're going to see whether he was bobbling it, whether he had control. They'll review it, of course. But with time, McCown clicked 26 yards if he held on and had the feet in. He has the feet.
It appears he controlled the football awkwardly, but he brought it into his body, it looked like, for a moment. We'll have to see.
I agree with you.
He looked like he pinned it against his shoulder as he rotated his body to get his feet in. This might be a better angle here.
We're reviewing the previous play.
Well, he had his arm against his body, and the right hand then came in late after he was out of bounds. So I'm not sure. We're going to take a break as they review it.
Today's game is sponsored by T-Mobile, changing the game of wireless.
We're back here in Detroit. The ruling on the field is that it was a touchdown caught by Evans.
After
Did he have
review,
control?
The ruling on the field stands. The touchdown.
Mike Pereira, what did you see?
That's exactly what I see. Look, at the issue is here, did he pin the ball against his shoulder or his body with his forearm in the elbow area? And that is a catch, and he actually secured it. The ball really doesn't move. Watch here, is he's going to bring it in and pin it against his body right there with the elbow inside. Ball's not moving. He gets both feet down. You got to stay with the ruling of the catch and touchdown there.
Thank you, Mike. So appreciate it. 26-yard touchdown pass, 27-17. McCown actually had time to get rid of the ball. There's a scoring drive, 81 yards, pretty nifty by the Buccaneers. And the second touchdown reception of the game for Evans, his 10th of the year. One more will tie the Bucs rookie record, held by Mike Williams, and he's still got some games to go. And returning is Jeremy Ross for the Lions. Ross still on his feet. Ross getting past the 40-yard line.
Well, he's got a ton of athleticism and speed. One of his best attributes are his ability to cut and stick and get out of it. Let's go back to the last touchdown catch by Mike Evans. To reiterate what Mike Pereira said, he uses his left arm and his right hand there to secure the ball against his body as he gets his feet in bounds. It almost looks like a bicep curl to get in there. Used to say curls for the girls, but I guess he's doing it to catch touchdown passes in that case.
Speak for yourself. 36-yard kickoff return, however, and that's the longest of the year for Ross. And the Lions have a first down on the 42-yard line. 27-17, 10-point game early here in the fourth. Here is Reggie Bush. And Bush gets a couple up the middle. Let's go down to the field. Christina Pink with a report.
Dick, we see this Bucs defense without Levante David came off the field after that hard hit, carted back to the locker room, head buried in a towel. He is being evaluated for a concussion and has been ruled out.
And Dane Fletcher is now in. They brought in Brandon McGee at first, and Dane Fletcher, former Patriot, is in there now. So it'll be 2nd down and 6 for the Lions. Here's Joyce Bell, and Bell is stopped. 2-yard loss by Danny Lansana quickly coming in. Kurt Menefee with a game break.
A different Bell ringing up yards in for Pittsburgh, I should say. Le'Veon Bell, 13-yard score. He's got 194 total yards in this game. His Steelers up 28-21 against Cincinnati. Dick, he's 6 yards away from being the first guy with 3 straight games of 200 total yards since Walter Payton in 1977. High company.
Wow, that's tremendous.
It's impressive. And they continue to feed him the football. Ben Roethlisberger talked about it earlier in the year. If he can withstand all these touches he's getting in the running game.
3rd down and 7. Travis Swanson replaces Larry Warford at right guard. 3rd and 7. Pressure on Stafford, and down he goes, loses the ball. The Lions recover, and it's recovered by Swanson, the rookie from Arkansas who just came into the game. Gerald McCoy, shaken up earlier, leaving the field, coming on and putting tremendous pressure on Stafford, a loss of 7 yards.
And boy, did he take a hit from Larry English, number 57. He's able to get off the edge and eventually get to Matthew Stafford as he tries to step up in the pocket. And the ball just pops right out. Detroit fortunate to get that ball back.
Solomon Patton. And did he have enough chance to field it? Flag goes down. It's picked up by the Lions. And Kyle Van Noy is going to charge close to the goal line. They say it's a touchdown. I don't know whether Patton had room to make a play on the punt.
Yeah, it looked like Issa Abdul-Quddus got in the way of Patton in that case, interfered.
And that will be the call.
Smart by Van Noy to pick the ball up and continue to play it out, though. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, and the official had to rule touchdown when he went into the end zone.
Interference with the opportunity to make a fair catch. Number 42 of the kicking team. The 15-yard penalty for the spot of the foul. 1st down. Please reset the game clock to 10:40.
Yeah.
10:40.
Quddus never had a chance to field the punt, so the Bucs will retain possession when we return, still early in the 4th.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Game of War. Play free now.
Back here in Detroit, where the Lions lead by 10 and the Buccaneers with the ball on the 33. McCown has thrown 2 touchdown passes to Mike Evans, and open is Mike James into the game for the first time. Flag is down right around the line of scrimmage, and the ball gets loose, and the Lions recover, although half of the recovery was out of bounds, but the flag down at the 25.
You're going to see a holding call on Ziggy Ansah coming off the edge. And what a player he's been, seeing his first action in football in general in 2008.
Holding, number 69 of the offense. 10-yard penalty, still 1st down.
Well, they call it on DeMar Dotson on Ansah, who's hard to keep out, isn't he?
He is. He's a rare combination of size and speed, and like I'd mentioned, he first saw a game of football back in 2008. Barely even played much football at all, and they thought he was going to be a project when he first got to Detroit, but he has really blossomed into a madman as far as getting to the quarterback.
6.5 sacks this year. So now 1st down and 20. Back on the 23, and Caught in his step is Charles Sims by Dominican Sue. A loss of 4 yards.
It's just, it seems like the timing is off with the different play calls. I mean, nothing seems to have any rhythm or flow to it. Nothing seems to set anything else up. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers seem to just have always untimely play calls matched with the defense that the Lions are bringing.
Tough spot for Carlos Arroyo. Put it in a tough spot when the season started to do something hadn't done before, certainly on this level. Second down at 24 and going up top for Evans, and a flag goes down. I thought Evans got into a little wrestling match with Darius Slade up there.
He did. The issue was Darius Slay, again, continues to not look back to make a play on the football. He continues to get tangled up with the wide receivers, which, again, it's going to look to the official as if it's pass interference. But if there's one thing I appreciate about what Marcus Arroyo is trying to do is he's trying to be aggressive. He's trying to get the ball to Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans to keep his team in this game.
Interference, defense number 23.
He wasn't playing the ball. You got to play the ball, but, you know, I mean,
again, I like the call. Mike Evans, just have him run vertical downfield. Our man is better than yours. He's bigger, and he's going to be able to make a play. And if he doesn't, Slade's got to interfere. Look, he never turns back for the football. Not at 1 point.
That'll be a 38-yard penalty and into Lion territory. First down at the 48. Eighth penalty against the Lions for 112 yards. McCown, and throwing a bit behind Evans, incomplete.
He was hurried by DeAndre Levy, who came through and got to him just before he could get the football off. Josh talked to us earlier in this week how he may have to rush throws sometimes because of this Detroit Lions rush.
It's a quarterback. How tough is it to have what happened with the Buccaneers? The offensive coordinator, ill, can't do it, and now the quarterback coach has to call plays. He's young. He's going to have a great future, I'm sure, in this business.
Well, it's almost impossible, given the responsibilities he was right before the season and never have done it before in the NFL.
Here's Murphy. Murphy can't get away from Slay this time. No gain, and flag down in the defensive backfield.
Pass interference, number 83, offense. The 10-yard penalty.
So they call offensive pass
second
interference against Vincent Jackson.
It appears as if he was blocking too early. Josh McCown set up the screen to the outside of Lewis Murphy, but again, the wide receiver must find a way to not put hands on the defensive back until the ball is released.
So we've had 2 offensive penalties and 1 pass interference penalty on the defense. An offensive pass interference which sets the Buccaneers back into their own territory to the 47, where it is first down and 20. McCown. And he gets to midfield, or close to it.
And the X factor in this game, as you noted, was it's been 8 penalties, creating 112 yards for the Tampa Bay offense. And that's really been one of the biggest differences, is every time Tampa Bay needed to come up with a big play, they either did it through a penalty, or they were able to take a shot downfield. But the Detroit Lions have helped put Tampa Bay in nicer predicaments than how their offense is actually, what they've actually been able to produce.
And when McCown has had time, he's delivered.
He has. You saw this last touchdown pass last series.
3rd and 17. And this pass caught by Murphy. He'll be well short of the first down. Another penalty. And they'll mark the ball at the 46 of Detroit.
Holding. Number 70 in the offense. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
So Logan Mankins holding. Declined the penalty, and a punting situation coming up for the Bucs.
Well, if there's one thing Lovie Smith and the rest of his coaching staff told the offensive line, it was to stop letting Josh McCown get hit. And we've seen that. There's been more holding calls recently with some of these hits he's taken. So they're doing all they can, even some illegal activity, in order to keep him off the ground.
Jeremy Ross is back. Fair catch at the 12. So again, the onus on the Bucs defense to try to keep the game within 10 against this Lion team looking for that 9th win of the season. Lions defense has been big today. 3 sacks, 3 takeaways. Calvin Johnson with a touchdown, 130 yards. Mike Evans, the sensational rookie, has 2 receiving touchdowns for Tampa Bay. First down on the 8-yard line. Joyce Bell with the carry, getting away. Joyce Bell. Alteron Werner finally caught up with him. Joyce Bell. So when the Lions unable to run today, they go wild here. A gain of 57.
One of the things I like most about Joyce Bell is his patience in the running game and his vision. He's able to set things up and allow the offensive lineman and the fullback to do their job to see the hole. He doesn't have quite away that breakaway speed, but he's tough, he's physical. He gets north and south, uses that stiff arm very well.
Longest run from scrimmage by the Lions this year. And a first down. Stafford's pass off the hands and unable to pick it off are the Bucs. Golden Tate, the intended receiver. Pressure by Michael Johnson. Well, this week, Fox brings you the biggest fight card in broadcast television history. Great fights. Junior Dos Santos and Nate Diaz will be in a couple of bouts. A 2-night UFC event begins Friday with the Ultimate Fighter finale on Fox Sports 1 and continues Saturday with UFC Fight Night on Fox. So the longest run by any Lion this year is 2nd down and 10 from the 35 of Tampa Bay. Slant. Calvin Johnson. First down. Nearly regained his footing to get a lot more, Brady.
He sure is special, especially with his size, his ability, and his agility. Going back to Joyce Bell's big run. And look, this is something they're going to have if they want to continue to be successful in the postseason. The ability to run the football, especially as they go play again at Lambeau at the end of the season. Cold weather game like that, maybe windy. You've got to be able to run the football in those inclement conditions.
So 7 catches, 143 yards now for Megatron, and a first down on the 22. They'll go to Joyce Bell, tripped up, and he gets a couple of yards anyway. Bradley McDougald, the strong safety. In case you're wondering, the season's high in receiving yards for Calvin Johnson this year is 164.
Matthew Stafford, 291 yards passing so far. He averages the most yards of any quarterback, active quarterback in the NFL on a week-by-week basis.
So Calvin Johnson coming out to the left on 2nd down and 8. Bottom part of your picture. Looking that way. He's got it, and he's down inside the 5. Banks on the tackle. And a 15-yard gain. Despite the pressure, Matthew Stafford getting it away.
Matthew Stafford playing tough. Took a shot from number 90, Michael Johnson, coming off the edge, but was able to deliver the football and give Calvin Johnson a chance to make a catch and run.
So 400 yards by the Lions today, and they exploded against the Chicago Bears. So 2 big offensive games in a row for the Lions after 2 quiet games. Joyce Bell, the running back, the ball is tipped, and it's caught by Bell. He scores!
What about that?
Joyce Bell in the right place at the right time. The tip was in the air. He picked it off. He went in for the touchdown, his 2nd of the game. 1 as a receiver, 1 as a runner. And Matthew Stafford, the beat goes on. 311 passing yards. And the Lions now lead it 33-17. And Matt Prater trying to add the 34th point. And that's exactly what the Lions scored against the Bears on Thanksgiving Day. There's a penalty marker down.
Holding. Number 92 of the offense. The 10-yard penalty. Retry the down.
They're going to retry the kick. Most points that the Lions have scored this year was in their opening game against the Giants when they won 35-14. Had 34 against the Bears, and if they make this extra point, it'll be 34 again.
Let's go back to the touchdown. Matthew Stafford's going to signal a route, a quick little dart route is what we call it, to Calvin Johnson, because he sees the one-on-one coverage on the outside. As he steps back to throw, it gets batted up by, looks like Gerald McCoy, and Joyke Bell making the heads-up play to catch it and run it into the end zone. You can see him. There's a little slant signal there.
And it was McCoy. Hey, I'm just standing there waiting for the ball to come down. So the extra point, really a 30-yard kick, is good, and the Lions now lead it 34-17, doubling up on the Buccaneers. And hey, let's go to Los Angeles, a game break, and let's join Joel Klatt. Joel.
All right, Dick, next on Fox is Mark Sanchez, LaShawn McCoy, and the Philadelphia Eagles as they take on the defending Super Bowl champs, the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson. It's America's Game of the Week. It's next, and it's on Fox. Dick, Brady, and Christina.
Thank you, Joel. What a game that is going to be. How do you size that one up?
I see Seattle coming out on top on that. That defense seems to be hitting on all cylinders at the right time. Mark Sanchez has some issues turning the football over, and I think if Seattle can get back to running the football effectively on the road, I think they come away with that victory on their way to getting on top of the NFC West. Arizona leads right now, but they've been on the decline of recent since Carson Palmer's been out and Drew Stanton's had to take over. So I foresee the Seattle Seahawks ended up winning that division.
Well, you may be right, and of course the Cardinals with a win today would be a huge win against Kansas City, and a huge confidence deal for Stanton as well, who did win a couple of games early. We'll see. Calvin Johnson with the 14th career game with 150 or more receiving yards. And the Bucs will take it out on the 20. Two of college basketball's most storied programs meet on Wednesday as number 11 Kansas goes to Washington, D.C. to take on Georgetown. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Well, a different scenario from a year ago when the Bucs won here 24-14 and really ruined the Lions' hopes of a playoff. Jim Schwartz been replaced by Jim Caldwell. But this time, December may be kind to the Lions. McCown in a crowd and not getting out.
No, in this scenario, it doesn't set up well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Down 3 scores, really have no option and ability to even run the football. So it's all put on Josh McCown's shoulders, as well as the offensive line having to stop a tough Detroit Lions defensive line who's got their ears pinned back, ready to rush the quarterback.
Loss of 4, Ansah and Johnson combined on that sack. 2nd and 14, McCown, and unable to handle it is Louis Murphy. Tell you, the time running out on these Buccaneers, and you know, the one thing that they point to is the fact that they really played teams close. They've lost 6 games by 6 points or fewer, including 2 in overtime. Both Lovie Smith's wins with the Bucs this year have come on the road, but this one they haven't even been able to get that close.
Well, they've been able to do that because of their defense and their play, but again, they haven't been able to put as many points on the board as they need to stay competitive. And unfortunately, again, I don't mean to keep harping on the offensive coordinator, but they just have a hard time of moving the ball without the aid of the Detroit Lions in this game with penalties.
3rd and 14. Down goes McCown, and let's see if they call it a safety. Sue is there. If he didn't have forward progress as a safety, they may mark it at the 5. Loss of 11, and they'll mark the ball at the 5-yard line. Ansah with good penetration that time. Sue has been in there all day.
And the tough part about it is you've got to make big plays. And in order to do that, you got to throw the ball down the field, and that takes longer. And the offensive line for Tampa has just not done a good job of protecting McCown enough to allow him the time to throw the ball down the field.
Kanan will be kicking to Ross. Fair catch, good field position at the 44 for the Lions. NFC North, Green Bay plays Atlanta on Monday night. Lions will go 9-4 and remain behind. Now the Lions have a home game against the Vikings. They go to Chicago, two teams with losing records before that finale at Green Bay. The Packers, after the Atlanta game, have to go to Buffalo. That's not going to be an easy deal by any stretch of the imagination. And then Green Bay goes to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Buffalo in particular playing great defense right now. So that will not be an easy game for the Packers as they continue on in their quest to win the NFC North.
3:30 to go. First down on the 44 of Tampa Bay. And here's Joyce Bell, nothing there. I will say this, and we've been talking about the play calling, and this was a different kind of story with Jeff Tedford, who unfortunately had, you know, the problems, the health problems. I think that Carlos Arroyo did the best he could do under the circumstances, never having been in that position. Now all of a sudden, quarterback coach in the NFL, now calling the plays at the 11th hour in game number 1. I think he's done the best he could. It has just been unfortunate with the circumstances for the Bucs.
Yeah, between that and injuries and even penalties, again, and the players have been accountable for it. They're pre-snap penalties, dumb penalties, things you can't be doing. And they unfortunately have had a lot of that this season, the top of the league.
And protection, you know. Here's Joyce Bell again, nothing doing. You got to give your quarterback time, as you know better than anyone. You can have Peyton Manning look like an average quarterback in the Super Bowl, which he did last year.
Yeah, I mean, pressure on any quarterback is going to play a huge factor, especially Josh McCown. I mean, look at his hair. He's been hitting the head a number of times, and you can tell he's frustrated. This pregame, he's got the nice-looking cut, nice-looking hair, but then all of a sudden you take a bunch of hits throughout the game from Ndamukong Suh and the rest of the Lions, and that's what happens to your hair. Some people want to credit the helmet, but a lot of times it's those hits he's continuing to take series after series.
Some people have hair.
That is true.
One timeout left for Tampa Bay. 2:39 remaining. And you know, you talk about sacks. Well, as a quarterback, which is the worst? The hits, the hurries?
Well, the hits add up because that internal time clock goes off in your head sometimes when you may not have the time to get the ball off, or you do have enough time. You rush your reads, progressions in your throw, and end up throwing the ball inaccurately or missing open guys. So all of that, you know, plays a part.
Reggie Bush to the 39-yard line. Six-yard pickup. And Tampa Bay calls its third and final timeout. 34-17 the score.
Timeout. It'll be 30 seconds in length.
Lions scored the first touchdown. Stafford to Johnson. They've never trailed. It was 7-3, then 14-3. It was 17-10 at the half. And then, of course, after a wild finish to this first half, the Lions have dominated in the second half of this game. So this year for the Detroit Lions, they have had so many disappointments, really bad years for a lot of seasons. And now with Jim Caldwell in his first year, with the win, they're back in the top 6.
Yeah, I mean, there's reason for a lot of hope and optimism that starts on the defensive side of the football. That's what wins championships. The defense being able to stop the run. Again, we talked about it. Inclement weather, things of that nature you face throughout the playoffs. So they are set to make a run. They can continue at this pace.
Reggie Bush. And he is down by Ori Lemon.
Linebacker core for Tampa Bay has done a nice job of filling in. I mean, Ori Lemon, Danny Lansana, Dane Fletcher, that's all they've got left on their roster at linebacker. They can't afford to lose another injury. Brandon McGee's out, Levante David, Mason Foster, all those guys. So they've done their best they can with that next man up mentality and trying to fit in.
Victories for them have been in Pittsburgh, and when they were 1-3 after losing their first 3 games, they defeat Pittsburgh and had great hopes. Then they lost to New Orleans in overtime, and then a blowout at home against Baltimore, and that put the Buccaneers on their heels. First down with 2:20 to go, and this pass is caught by Murphy. Lewis Murphy with the reception. As we get close to the 2-minute warning for the Lions, they lost week 2 in Carolina. They lost to Buffalo at home, and then the back-to-back losses at Arizona and at New England. And going up on top for Vincent Jackson, and he makes the reception at the 15 against Darius Slay. 2-minute warning here in Detroit. The dance by Fourier and the fans in the stands. It's 34-17. We've had our 2-minute warning, 1:55 remaining in this game. Ndamukong Suh, a couple of hard hits, one producing a penalty on Josh McCown today, but the Detroit Lions were tough. They were tough.
They were tough. They physically dominated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football and really imposed their will throughout the game.
36-yard play setting up a first down at the 15. And here's Josh McCown going into the end zone, and it's knocked away, incomplete. By the way, Vincent Jackson, 10 catches, 159 yards. Very quietly, Jackson has had a huge game. And coming up, as soon as we're done here, bonus coverage with the finish between the Colts and the Cleveland Browns. And as you mentioned before, your former team very much in the playoff hunt. We're going to bring you that one, as the AFC's got an interesting playoff battle going on. Second down and 10.
Go.
McCown, Evans, and he's defended by Rasheem Mathis. Take a look at the AFC playoff picture. Now the Ravens just beat the Dolphins 28-13. So the Ravens go to 8-5, the Dolphins go to 7-6, and the Browns, if they hold their 24-19 lead, and we're going to send you there, will go to 8-5. Won't hurt Indianapolis because they're solid in first.
Well, when you look at the Steelers are up 42-21 on Cincinnati. Cincinnati leading the AFC North. It's such a tough division, and I would have to say this year, AFC North is by far the toughest in the NFL.
Everyone over 500 by at least 2 games.
At least.
Third down and 10. And here's McCown, incomplete, bringing up fourth down and 10. So Vincent Jackson has his season's best game, and Calvin Johnson, 8 catches, 158 yards and a touchdown. Stafford throwing for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Joique Bell with 2 touchdowns today.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference, is Detroit was a 2-dimensional offense, able to run the football in the second half in particular, and throw the football as well. Tampa Bay has been able to put up some yards throwing the football, but have not been able to run the football at all. Too predictable.
Big day for the Lions. Fourth down, and the Lions will take over on downs after Andre Fluellen sacks McCown, loss of 5 with 1:32 to go. So the Detroit Lions today, Brady Quinn, did not look past the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which a lot of teams could have done.
No, they did not, and credit the Detroit Lions defensive line being able to get pressure on Josh McCown the entire day. Never was able to really set his feet, feel comfortable, with the exception of maybe one throw, which we saw was a touchdown pass to Mike Evans. Such a talented bunch, a talented group. They rotate those guys in there through. They can really play at the defensive tackle position or the defensive end. Very versatile up front.
When we talked to Jim Caldwell on Friday, he says coming off the Thanksgiving Day win from their quarterback Stafford, he says don't expect that every week. Well, he came pretty close, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, and look, he's definitely been able to put up some yards throughout his career. Having Calvin Johnson is one of those reasons, but I think his attributes and his skill set, his strong arm, different arm angles, his smarts, his competitiveness, and his toughness, all those things I think have made him to get, be talked about as one of the elite quarterbacks. But, that was one of the things we asked him. And Jim Caldwell says, we're not concerned about that. We want to win a championship, and that'll take care of itself. So I think they're right.
And the Detroit Lions finally will break that miserable streak in December when they've lost 9 regular season games, 11 in a row, counting playoffs in January. They go to 9-4. The Packers still have that game to play against the Atlanta Falcons, and staying with them and aiming for possibly that last game of the regular season, as the Lions scoring 34 points in back-to-back games against the Bears Thanksgiving and today against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 34-17. The Lions go to 9-4, and the Buccaneers drop to 2-11. 2 longtime friends. In fact, Jim Caldwell began his career as an assistant in Tampa Bay, and that's the story here. So for Brady Quinn and Christina Pink, this is Dick Stockton saying so long from Detroit. Final score, 34-17 Lions. Right now, let's go to the State Farm Game Break Show with Kurt Menefee and the boys in Los Angeles.